Hi, good day. This is Justin Pineda, and for this session, we'll be talking about some of the recon and mapping activities for web application pen testing. This may not be the exhaustive list of tools, but it will outline some of the common activities that you will be doing. All right, so the discussion points include recon, right, and mapping, and some of the sub activities that you will be doing, right? Okay, so for the recon, um just like in any ethical hacking methodology, the first step would be to conduct reconnaissance, to research about your target, identify the technologies that are used, the history, and other publicly available information about your target. And this is important because we want to make sure that our time for the engagement would be used um, wisely, and we'll be able to maximize all the activities because we have a plethora of tools, and we want to make sure that we use the ones that are relevant to the engagement. So it's often skipped because people believe they know the information needed, right? And this is usually true when the testing done is white box because all of the information is already given to you. But still, you still do your recon to check and compare if there, like for example, check the history of the website and see if there are past vulnerabilities and other things. So you can do that and um, collect as many information as possible. And it's easily the most crucial step of the test because by doing the recon, you can already prepare the tools. You can already imagine the different test scenarios that you will be doing. The next is target selection. Of course, usually this is part of the scoping. No? You define the scope, right? Later on, when you do spidering and identify the pages that are called by this website, by this application, would this be part of the engagement? Or solely I have to put a clear demarcation line between those that have been created by my customer and those that are from a third party. Um, so testers need to know the targets, okay, explicitly, the range of IP address and applications. And then the target information can be gathered from the personnel, the knowledge of the network, or the processes if it's given, or you have discovered it. But it's important to set it up. And when we talk about scoping, usually there's a security questionnaire that is shared to the security team just so that you are in the same page. Alright. So the usual is to verify your target using whois and DNS, to identify the owner, okay, of the domain, get the range of the IP, including authoritative name servers, okay, and cross-reference it because you can also do social engineering attacks targeting the contacts, so the management staff and other things. Right. Another thing would be the open source intelligence, which in other books this will fall under Google hacking, right? But mostly it talks about being able to filter and get information based on search queries and keywords. So, like in Google, right, you use certain keywords, Bing, right, going to different news group and mailing lists. Before you have your Yahoo groups or Google groups, now there are specific groups in, let's say, social media, social networking sites like Facebook or LinkedIn, exclusively for a specific cause. and specific organizations. And then there's also Shodan, which is the world's first search engine for internet connected devices and IoT. So we'll have a different set of um, session for the tools. But the OSINT, we call it OSINT, is very critical in your um, testing. All right. Now let's go to mapping. So we'll skip some of the known activities. No? So in the mapping phase components, it may require um, a number of activities starting from a port scan, OS fingerprint inversion scan, which usually can be done using a port scanner like Nmap. So I will not discuss this further because we've done this in a separate video. Conducting SSL analysis, and then virtual hosting and load balancer analysis, software config analysis, spidering, and detailed analysis of spidering results. So when we talk about analyzing HTTPS support, usually you see or you check the quality of the certificate used. So first, the server support HTTPS. The general rule is that if the application is processing any confidential personal information and a login, HTTPS is a requirement. So the first and foremost, that's the first thing that you will ask, and if yes, okay, has to be there. If not, it should not be in production. What version? So anything below SSL version 3 or TLS1 is weak. Is the certificate expired or invalid? Okay, so less than 128 bit is weak, MD5 is weak. Now, Qualys SSL Labs test can show you the rating of the certificate. And later on, we'll have a separate session for that regarding the mapping tools, and it will tell you if there are existing vulnerabilities that are still present and applicable to the application. Right? So you have to check, and without doing active commands being sent to the application, you'll be able to get that and prepare the necessary tools to run this. So this is an important step. The next would be the virtual hosting and load balancer. So here, it's important to know whether it's using IP based virtual hosting, wherein the mapping is 1:1. So you have a single IP address to each site. Okay, so this is important to note because of the test that you will be doing if you are targeting the IP. Right, so the second one is the most common, or the more common one, which is the name-based virtual hosting, which uses an IP address for multiple websites on the same server. So you can do like again, there's going to be another session on the tools called RobText. It's an online tool free for you to use wherein you can trace. You type in the IP, and then from there, it will show you in which websites are using this IP. And this is very important because you have to separate this in your scoping. Right? You don't want to be targeting applications that are of different ownership. Otherwise, um, you might face some problems, legal problems, and contractual problems as well. So that's another one. Now, the other issue would be load balancers. Now, you need to be able to, unless stated, usually you can this information when you do your questionnaire, and the customer will tell you that they are using load balancers. But if not, you can also check them yourself. So you can check through URL analysis, see usually if there's www2, www3, that is an indicator of a load balancer. Okay, timestamp or last modified values comparison. This is quite common when you have, like for example, get a response from the server and says that the time is 10:10, for example, and then the next response you will get a time which is 10:09. So it means that the different servers might not be in sync and you're getting a response from a different server. That's one. Right? Same with the last modified values. It may differ. If you will check it more thoroughly. And then you have your load balancer cookies detection. You can visually check it. And then HTTPS differences when it comes to the certificate. So you can check and see. So if you have multiple servers in place, then they might have different private keys used. And also HTML source code discrepancies. So maybe in some other servers you will see a different comments provided in this particular version versus the other, and you will have to visually inspect them. So it will require uh, some validation on your end. And this is very important again when you do your testing, because at times, let's go to the next slide. So at times you will realize that I'm doing this type of attack. Why is it not working? And it's not that because it's not working, but because the attacks should be done on all the servers. It means because you're using load balancers. Second is that the differences in the application may expose an issue on only one of the servers. This is the usual case. So once you are aware that you have a load balancer setup, then okay, you may be able to anticipate this and replicate the attack again and again until such time that you get the result that you want. Alright, so test modifications. Again, you need to address each server individually, modify the load balancer to direct the tester's IP address to one server. That's another um, strategy. Now, another thing that you need to do in your mapping would be to check the software configuration. Okay, and these are the usual things. You can get it from the header of the HTTP. So what's the configuration of the server machine, the OS, network services? So you'll be able to get that in the port scan. What are the features available, the default pages? Once you're able to know the platform, you can check. And yeah, again, in the tools demonstration, there's a GitHub repository of the default pages that you can check one by one and automate and see what the responses are. Right? Check the supported HTTP request methods, which we discuss. What are the allowed ones? What are the dangerous ones? Because the dangerous HTTP methods is also considered a, a, a defect that needs to be fixed as a low level defect. No? Okay, so you can use netcat to determine the supported HTTP request methods, and there are others. You can Nmap can provide you with that information as well, and then default pages. Right, so I think Daniel Messler has a GitHub for that, which we will show in a different video. And the next would be spidering. So spidering or crawling refers to the same thing, but the goal in spidering is to be able to list all the possible web links. You download a copy of the entire site, and then you can analyze, check which pages are accessible, which are not, which pages are alive or are existing that we cannot access, that we plan on accessing next time if we elevate the privilege, right? And get important information like your email names, phone number of the um, users, no? And then we have the keywords for password guessing attacks. Usually, if we find you have a default password, or the formation of emails of the users, like first name dot last name at the company name, etc., etc., and then you have your robot control. So you you get all the pages, spider it, okay, try to rebuild and get an offline copy of the site and examine. Again, a lot of examining to do, but usually there are items that you have to look out for. And then yeah, you analyze the spidering results. So you look for the comments that reveal useful or sensitive information. Usually, if during testing you put some login information and put it in the comments so that you can simulate the test cases faster. No? Okay, so commented coded links that are supposed to be disabled, but for the developer at some point this forgot to disable it, right? And then you have your disabled functionality, okay, which you would know that later on you would realize that, oh, there is a functionality like this, although not enabled in the production, but there is such functionality that we can leverage later on. And of course, link servers. And then another part would be application flow charting. In some cases, customers will require you to do this. Some they will fill it up for you, provide you with an application flow chart. But on the part of the pen tester or the security tester, it's also important to simulate it based on your point of view, right? Based on what you see, and then put, okay, throw it up. It can be a simple pen paper. You can use a software. You can use MS Visio. You can use another tool. But the point here is to be able to simulate based on your point of view how the application works. Starting from the login, if there's a login screen, making a transaction, etc., etc. Because from there, if you're able to do your application flowchart, you'll be able to simulate the test cases that you will be doing, and at the same time, you'll be able to um, show to the customer or to your stakeholders your understanding of the application. Maybe for them, they are only expecting that you can have access to module 1 to 5, but because of how you navigate, you're able to access others, even the supposedly hidden ones. So there. And then in relation to the um uh the flow charting or the plotting of the application flow, later on would you can do your relationship analysis. Although this is optional because it may require a significant amount of time to build this up. Um, but usually you can map it out, like check the relationship between pages. Okay, starting from this, I'm the user. I'm able to access this. Once I access this, I can be able to access these particular functions and so on. So it becomes more detailed, and it becomes more and more realistic um, to the flow of what a user will do. So again, depends if the client wants it, just to get a picture of how the application is viewed from a different perspective. And last would be software configuration flaws. So for software configuration flaws, now we want to make sure that we check, okay, the common configuration problems of the application. Okay, so you will get common problems like um, HTTP methods. Like for example, going back to the HTTP methods, and then some of the known configuration flaws Okay, like Drupal Geddon, Shell Shock, Heartbleed, which some of these will appear in SSL Labs, but because when you use your scanner, it's more updated, more recent. Right? Because you're doing it today, the results are as of today, right? So it will validate whatever the SSL lab test or the Qualys test will show. Okay, you can cross-reference, and then it will not exploit the vulnerabilities, but it will tell you what are the potential problems. No? This is open. It's using port 80. You can redirect traffic to port 80, etc., etc. So it will give you this information and will help you in your um, test. All right. So okay, this would be some of the activities that you will be doing for recon and then mapping. So these are both very important steps in your security testing. It will save a lot of time in your discovery and exploitation when you are able to identify the type of test cases, the type of tools, the type of testing strategy that you will be doing through this. No? So, and you're not limited to the tools mentioned here. No? So there are other, probably more sophisticated, faster tools that you can use. But the intention would be the same, right? To point you to the right direction, to give you an understanding of how the application works, and to be able to think about different test cases or test scenarios that you will be running against the application and the expected outcomes. All right. So there. So thank you. The next video will be about demonstration of these tools mentioned. All right. Thank you. See you in the next video.